everyone, here's another Miscellany. I've been flicking through an old poetry book that I used to use for recitals and spoken word events, going back to 2017 here. I found one, Seaside Trip, that was about sort of generic seaside places, but actually was inspired by a remark my nephew made when he visited Scarborough, when he was an adult and no longer a child. So here it is, Seaside Trip. The tide turned, the castle viewed, the seagulls hung in the sky, the dogs hotted, the candy flossed, the trippers gave them a try. The sea shushed, the sky dimmed, the hotels switched on their lights, the pubs hummed, the chips fried. The evening ended in fights. That's not just Scarborough, that could be Blackpool as well. Don't know about Brighton, haven't yet lived there for years. Next page I came to another one which I remember enjoying writing, though I don't remember what actually made me write it. This one's called Mirror Mirror. You'll get it when you hear it. Too much face, too much fat. Get it lifted, pull it back. See what's under. Someone new, someone younger, nicer you. Afterwards, too much smile, too much plumper for a while. What was under, nothing new. Just an older, tenser you. Keep it neat, not so stretched. Kinder hearted someone next. Oh, if only. We all have our thoughts about plastic surgery and so forth. That one, I'll have seen something on television or read an article about something to do with plastic surgery, I'm sure. Love this next one. Yo ho ho. I wanted to write something Captain Pugwashy, for those of you who remember Captain Pugwash, something like the sort of stuff we used to enjoy listening to when I was younger, when I was at school, but from a slightly more adulty perspective. This one's called Yo ho ho. Yo ho ho. Oh, sing a song of the high seas, or maybe one of drought. Many monsters full of wrath and a ship called the Royal Sprout. The ship sailed out of Portsmouth across the ocean blue. Most of the crew was seasick and spent all their time in the loo. Along they met a monster with horrid claws and teeth. They all pulled funny faces to frighten it back beneath. A year they sailed the ocean with scarcely any rest. They found a desert island and looked for a treasure chest. They dug 11 potholes as deep as any pit, but nothing they discovered, so thought it time to quit. As they sailed back to Portsmouth, they fell into a hole, where all the sea had dried up, leaving a kind of bowl. They waited till the winter, when all the water froze, then threw their anchor upwards, pulled hard on its chain, and rose. Soon they were sailing homewards, past the dolphins and whales. Back home they had no treasure, but lots of wonderful tales. Looking back in old poetry books is a bit like looking back in old diaries, really. Sometimes you find bits and you think, I don't remember doing that. Other times you find things and you're like, that is so clear, that memory. And then there's the in-between things. So this next one, I sort of remember it. So this again is May 2017. Not 1917, I wasn't alive then. May 2017, so this was obviously at one of the Queenie's Coffee House nights, and it was something to do with me liking peppers. So I wrote Pepper Poem. Now, I like the spice of black pepper, also the heat of white pepper, not keen on the sharpness of green pepper, but cook with the blandness of red pepper. In salads the place of yellow pepper, and the sweetest of all is the orange pepper. Pep up your food with just one of these. Don't like them at all? Well then, hard cheese. I was obviously trying to amuse there, but that is all true about my taste for peppers. This one's sadder. Laughter releases. Sometimes you laugh because you're covering something, rather than just laughing at something funny. A little bit melancholy, this one. Laughter releases. You laugh because no one understands you. Oh, the irony, because you understand them so well. You told them the stories, in your head, held them close when they looked at you, into you. No need to tell now, no need for the stories. found their truth in life, and you wept. Now you can laugh after pain, fantasy, head exile, release, too long one. Yeah, that's a difficult one because it's about mental health. It is about coming out of the problems that you have, but yeah, laughing to cover, then telling stories. It's amazing how, if you have trouble with mental health, people will often say, "Oh, well, you didn't look like anything was wrong with you." That's the laughter and the covering. Then coming out of it and being able to actually, well, smile more than laugh at the end of it. I think, yeah, quite a few people express themselves through poetry who've had struggles with mental health, and it is a recurrent theme these days. Let's move to the other side of things, a little bit more humour again. Auntie Lou's death. I know it doesn't sound like it's funny, but there's a little bit of humour in here, and some of you might recognise things about relations that you don't always acknowledge, shall we say. Auntie Lou's death. When Auntie Lou died of rainfall, we were all surprised. She was such a sensible, red lacquer helmet-haired lady. She never went out without a reinforced umbrella. That day she did. There must have been a man behind it. Not that we knew his name. She never said. But we found the latex evidence in her bedside drawer. People do like to poke around in people's houses after they've died, don't they? Let's face it. And sometimes you find things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have wanted to. Scanning through, here, you can have the page flipping. And I'm just looking at, we've got downtown, common sense, not so keen on those. When you've got it. This is for people who think they've got it when they don't necessarily have, but they might have. When you've got it. They don't give a toss until you've made it. Only one will help. The rest will watch and gather only when you can give them something. They are slick and glossy, moneyed by others who floss their imperfections by needing them, they think. When you've got it, you give it away. When you're without it, you're kept away. Not everyone needs to make the effort. They groom and wait to groom and gain. That's a very That's a very cynical view of mine about parasites, basically. People who, when they think you've got something they want, will gather around you. But also there's the sadness there of people who have what they think they want, but somehow can't find happiness. Oh, dear oh my. Okay, folks, we're flitting back to 1611 now, and George Chapman from Homer's Iliads. I've been back in my own archive. I've been teaching speech and drama and acting for so long, I've got loads of poetry around. I've dug this one up, which I quite like because it's dramatic. So you're going to get Homer's Gift of Fame. Through all the pomp of kingdoms still he shines and graceth all his graces. Then let lie your lutes and viols, and more loftily make the heroic of your Homer sung. To drums and trumpets set his angel's tongue, and with the princely sport of hawks you use, behold the kingly flight of his high muse. And see how, like the phoenix, she renew her age and starry feathers in your sun. Thousands of years attending, every one blowing the holy fire and throwing in their seasons, kingdoms, nations that have been subverted in them, laws, religions, all offered to change and greedy funeral. Yet still your Homer lasting, living, reigning, and proves how firm truth builds in a poet's feigning. A prince's statue, or in marble carved, or steel, or gold, and shrined, to be preserved, aloft on pillars or pyramides, time unto lowest ruins may depress. But, drawn with all his virtues in learned verse, fame shall resound them on oblivion's hearse, till graves gasp with her blasts and dead men rise. No gold can follow where true poesy flies. Then let not this divinity in earth, dear prince, be slighted as she were the birth of idle fancy, since she works so high, nor let her poor disposer, learning, lie still bedrid. Both which being in men defaced, in men with them is God's bright image raced. For, as the sun and moon are figures given of his refulgent deity in heaven, so learning and her lightener poesy in earth present his fiery majesty. It has a vitality. Yeah, it's lofty, but also it's got something to say about poems will last longer. They don't always, of course they don't. Poems will last longer than statues or glory or all the rest of it. They loved that sort of thing back in 1611, and I quite like reading it now. I'll finish off with just a couple more from my back catalogue. That sounds good. It's actually an old book with flowers on it that I've taken to many a spoken word event. This one I like. It's called What I Read. And this again is another one that looks back at childhood. It goes like this. Red, blue, white and yellow, green and black. The colours of my childhood books. That's what I remember. Solid, black-lined drawings. Animals in their own houses. Noddy and Big Ears. Little Chick-Chick, Janet and John. Kitty and Rover. There was purple in that one. The Ladybird Library would not only teach you to read, but inform you about our clothes and costume, our houses and home, and give you any fairy tale you could wish for, lavishly illustrated with their own real life. I miss all that. I don't know what sparked that one off, but that could have been more recent. It was actually April 2018. But there's something on, I think it's on Facebook now, which reproduces all of the illustrations, or loads of the illustrations from the old Ladybird books, and it's so nostalgic. But you also realise that the art in those books was absolutely brilliant. That's part of what caught kids into those. The next thing's about colour. There are lots of self-help and well-being and mindfulness things around at the moment that suggest that you should use colour to enhance your life. And this was a reaction to something I had read again, but this time about red. And it's called Red. Red for the energy it gives, not a comfortable colour, only cheerful with its mates, alone, an overwhelming surge. Drench a room in red, you're asking for trouble, spoiling for a fight, spoiling the comfort that is not just lively. Dress entirely in red for danger. Your own if you're a woman, everyone else's if you're a man. That colour can... well, there's a lot of trouble with red. Not one of my favourites. Last one. The Cellar. We're back to a little humour again. This one, I think I've read this one at Halloween more than once, but it's well, I like it. I hope you'll like it. The Cellar. Jenna took a lighted match, set it to a candle, then marched up to the cellar door to slowly turn the handle. As down the cellar steps she crept, the shadows leapt and fell. Jenna felt the chill of dread. Why? She could not tell. There, in the centre of the room, a great grey granite table. She held her hand upon its top as long as she was able. What dreadful deeds had happened within this darkened place? Jenna turned, jumped with shock, as cobwebs laced her face. Supposing someone locked the door to leave her trapped below, she could starve and languish while no one would ever know. A shaft of light down the staircase, a voice boomed from the top. Stop playing silly buggers and fetch that bottle of pop. Speak to you soon, everybody.